Okay, propane or natural gas for your outdoor kitchen. Well, first of all, that's one of those good problems to have, right? But before we get into that, this video is actually the first in a series designed to facilitate your interaction as part of our new channel. Now, it's our job to give you a reason to subscribe, like, and comment, and that's what we intend to do. Our motivation's simple. We've got an amazing product and we want people to see it. Now, we'll be posting product updates, and we'll also be doing some build-through videos using our frames. But in those videos, we're going to make certain to provide you with accurate, relevant information and sound expert advice that's going to help you out whether you use our product or not. Now, if you disagree with any of the claims that we make, or any of the opinions that we express, or just think you have a comment that might help the next guy out, please do that. It's the entire point of the channel. Now, we're never going to delete any contrary or negative comments simply for being negative and contrary, but please keep the discourse civil and on topic. Now, likely a lot of you have never subscribed to, clicked that like button, or commented on a single video. I get it because I never did either. With that, thank you for hearing me, and on to the content. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and warn you that there's more information in this video than you likely need to make this decision. The short answer here, natural gas. Right? That's the answer, natural gas. Now, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why. The very first question you got to ask, though, is natural gas even available? If not, your problem solved, propane's your choice. But keep watching the video because there's still some decisions you need to make regarding propane. Now, if natural gas is available, the next question you got to ask is, how much is it going to cost you to plumb it to your outdoor kitchen? Now, if you already have natural gas run to other appliances in your home, then it's likely going to be easy enough to tap into that. If you need to run lines from, say, your street or another property boundary, it's going to be case by case, mostly dependent on what needs to be excavated. But also, and here's what I think is critical, what else do you intend to supply with your new gas service, right? If it's part of a furnace swap, for example, those are the kind of savings that should be driving the decision. Now, here's a quick note. Just because something in your house burns gas doesn't necessarily mean it's natural gas, right? If there's a big tank somewhere in your property, it's likely propane. All right, so what's the difference between propane and natural gas? That's a good place to start. Short answer, not much. The relevant answer would be natural gas is far more abundant in nature and therefore cheaper. But it's less than half as energy dense as propane, so you need more of it. For that reason, transporting it only makes sense if it's either supercooled until it condenses into a liquid or piped directly from the utility. Now, that requires infrastructure. Until infrastructure catches up, natural gas may simply not be an option for you. All right, so it's this energy density that's actually going to drive all relevant decisions when you decide between the two, if you even get that choice. Now, all energy density means is how much heat you're going to get for a volume of fuel. Now, in addition to being more energy dense, propane will also condense into a liquid at room temperature under normal pressures that you can achieve in a bottle or a tank. Because propane can be easily transported and stored, that's why it's used for virtually all portable grills. Now, you can, of course, pressurize natural gas into a similar bottle or tank, but it's still not going to condense into a liquid unless you also supercool it. So unless you have a cryo tank in your backyard, the size tank you're going to need to hold a reasonable supply of natural gas would be unreasonable. So there's a setup. Now we're going to get into the weeds just a little bit. Here's a very simplified diagram. Natural gas, mostly methane, sits on top of a crude oil deposit. Now, before that crude can be safely tapped, the natural gas, usually under pressure, needs to be dealt with. Now, before there was ever a market for natural gas, it was just flamed off to reduce the risk of an explosion. Now that there's a bit of infrastructure and a ready market, it gets captured and processed. There's such a market now that a lot of wells actually target natural gas. The point is, there's a bunch of it out there. Now, the processing you're looking at here for natural gas is basically cleaning it to get rid of anything that isn't methane, but specifically anything that might condense into a liquid inside pipes designed to move high-pressure gas. That product is called pipeline quality dry natural gas. Now, one of those contaminants needing to be removed winds up being propane. Now, remember, propane liquefies under pressure? Thus, one of the two primary sources for propane is natural gas processing. The other source of propane is as a byproduct of refining crude into gasoline. Now, notice that in both cases, Propane is a byproduct. So why isn't it dirt cheap? Well, you can just as easily ask yourself why diesel fuel, another byproduct of the crack, isn't always cheaper than gasoline. Great questions, both of them. Those answers begin with simple things like supply and demand for the other distillates, and inevitably end with, that's how big oil works, or somebody sighing the word conspiracy. Regardless, we don't have much control over the whys, but we do know that the price difference between propane and natural gas is dramatic. It's been that way for a long time, and it shows no signs of reversing anytime soon. Now, what we really care about for this comparison is how much grilling you can get done for your dollar. Now, for any of this to make any sense at all, we're going to need to do some conversions, so we're using common units. Now, propane is usually priced per gallon. Now, it's measured in pounds sometimes in portable tanks or by volumetric flow off delivery trucks. It gets converted, temperature corrected, but ultimately it gets priced in gallons. Natural gas, on the other hand, is priced per 100 cubic feet. Now, that's not an especially useful unit, except that burning 100 cubic feet of natural gas just happens to yield very nearly 100,000 BTUs. Now again, not especially useful units, except that 100,000 BTUs also equals 1 therm. Now, government statistics track natural gas by this unit, so therms we'll use. Based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the month of February 2018, the national average paid by a consumer for 1 therm of natural gas was $1.08. Now, there's some pretty big regional differences, anywhere from 75 cents in Detroit to over twice that in New England. The U.S. Energy Information Administration publishes numbers for the other distillates, in this case, propane. For the week ending 12 March 2018, the national average residential price was $2.50 a gallon. It takes about 1.1 gallons of propane to yield 1 therm, so about $2.75 a therm, all assuming you're paying residential price. Now, if you're filling those 20-pound portable bottles, you're going to pay way more, probably closer to $4.50 a therm. Now, just as with natural gas, there will be regional price variation, but on average, in an apples-to-apples comparison, propane is going to cost about 2.5 to 3 times as much as natural gas. Now, a typical 36-inch grill is going to have 3 burners, around 25,000 BTUs each, for a total of 75,000 BTUs max output. To make the math real easy, assume you grill 2/3 max setting for 2 hours per session. That gives you 100,000 BTUs, or 1 therm per session. So your fuel savings is going to be about $1.50 a session. If you wind up going with propane, you've got 2 choices. Get a tank, if you don't already have one, or use portable bottles. We've talked about the premium you're going to pay to fill those 20-pound bottles, but if you don't have room, you just don't have room. Really what it's going to be is a hassle to fill those all the time. Now, there are some services out there that will deliver and swap tanks. If you do get a tank, you can either buy one and have any company offering the best price on propane that day fill it, or, kind of like a cell phone, lease a tank and sign a service agreement with the vendor. Now, every grill model you're likely considering can be configured for either fuel. That's not going to be a big deal at all. It does not mean that the 2 fuels are interchangeable. Fittings are purposely dissimilar to prevent inadvertent cross-connection. Also, internal fuel lines and burner components are sized differently. By volume, more natural gas is required than propane. Now, some people claim that cost isn't the only factor. Some would claim that one fuel or the other has a superior cooking profile or somehow makes the food taste better. I personally can't tell, but then again, I never tried to notice. What I do know is that unlike charcoal, which imparts all kinds of flavors into the food, both propane and natural gas burn clean. So although they both start out as 2 distinct gases, by the time there's any interaction with your food, it's just carbon dioxide, water vapor, and heat. That does assume complete combustion. If for whatever reason you get incomplete combustion, you'll also be producing carbon monoxide, which is in fact a very big deal if you plan on having your face over that plume or if your kitchen is enclosed. And please don't think carbon monoxide falls under that everything in moderation rule. In any event, carbon monoxide shouldn't change the flavor of your food. Both gases burn at similar temperatures. Propane at 3623 Fahrenheit and natural gas at 3542. Chemically, I'm not aware of any interesting processes that are going to affect your food that begin to occur at the higher temperature that won't also occur at the lower. In absolute terms, we've got 2268 Kelvin and 2223 Kelvin. That's only about a 2% difference. I don't see that as being a major factor. Now, I suspect any difference is likely due to the specific burners used. Although energy density matters, burners have been engineered to account specifically for that. Now, what I'm claiming is a good propane burner is going to outperform a poor natural gas burner any day, or vice versa. Finally, there's a few videos out there with similar titles that are putting out reckless, if not dangerous information. So to clear things up, yes, at standard temperature and pressure, propane is denser than air, and natural gas is less dense than air. That does in fact mean that heavier propane will tend to sink, and the lighter natural gas will tend to rise. Tend to is the operative term in both of those statements. Now, propane is only half again as heavy as air. It's not freon. And natural gas is only half as light as air. It's not helium. In the real world, external forces are going to have way more impact in determining where any leak gas goes. So no, natural gas is not safe because it just floats away. And no, it's not okay to light a match as long as you do it up high if it's just a propane leak. Now, I hope I didn't just muck up Darwin's plan. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hoped it helped. And remember that talk we had at the beginning of the video. Every single interaction matters. Enjoy the rest of your research, and remember to keep things fun.